When I spoke to Attorney Seaver, you could tell he's done this before because this is all he does. So he automatically had, these are the immediate steps you need to take. You need to not answer these types of calls. You need to do this. You need to get me as much information as possible. Meanwhile, we're going to go and pursue this course of action to get as much information as we can. Until then, we don't want to do anything. He was ready to do it. He's done it before. You don't want somebody that does it 1 out of every 10. Other attorneys that I spoke to didn't really put me at ease. They took my call because obviously, you know, they want to see about a client or whatever, but they weren't 100% on the ball. Like as soon as I spoke to Attorney Seaver, he was ready to go. He was like, okay, these are the things you need to do. Whether you hire me or not, I want to make sure you're okay. I want to make sure your kid's okay. These other attorneys were not like that. They were just, okay, here's a case. We will pursue it for you. And this is what, you know, it will cost or whatever else. So it was much more generic, where I felt there was a lot more caring from Attorney Seaver. DCF gets funded by the number of kids they take away from families. And so there's motivation for them to take your kid. I would never, ever leave something as important as my child up to my own knowledge if I'm not a specialist. I'm not going to risk my child, my relationship with my child, the possible not seeing her and everything else to save a couple bucks. It just doesn't make sense. Because if I don't see, say it costs me an extra $2,000 to hire Attorney Seaver. What if I don't get to see her now for 3 years? Was it worth the money? I would not ever take on something like this that's this important without an expert. I don't think it's a smart move to make. I don't think if you want a positive outcome, you need to have the right tools for the job. And I'm a smart guy, but I know that I don't have the tools in my toolbox to do something like this. And I don't think the average person does. That's why you go to school for so long and you have the experience and you've been through those things. Just anybody that's out there, if you ever done something for the first time, I guarantee you the next time you did it better. Well, I don't want to go and make a stupid mistake because it's the first time I did something, or even the second or the third. Well, I think it's paramount that Attorney Seaver only specializes in what he does. I've been in different situations before with different courts, like when I went through a divorce and this and that. But let me tell you, I won my divorce because my ex-wife went with somebody who was not as experienced because she wanted to save a couple bucks. Well, guess what? I won that one. Now, thanks to Attorney Seaver, I've won this one too. And we've had a positive outcome. And I'm not sure. I really don't know if that would have happened without him. I would not have had the faith that I know I never would have gotten a positive outcome if I did it on my own. That's guaranteed. And if I went with someone who was maybe stretched thinner, maybe they would not have advised me the way or taken the plan that we took to try and get me a positive outcome. I felt like I would lose my child. My ex-wife is not exactly, she doesn't exactly have a halo over her head when it comes to our relationship. So I was panicked a lot about, will I get to see my kid? Will my ex-wife be able to use it against me? Having that number and just being able to speak, and also to Attorney Seaver's office, his other person in there, frankly, was also always picked up the phone, very attentive, and said, oh, you know what, Attorney Seaver might be in the middle of something right now, but I guarantee you I'll make sure he gets that message. So it just felt like everybody cared. When you're dealing with something as important as your child, your daughter, son, whoever, that's paramount. That's huge. The flat fee thing is great. And I know what attorneys cost. A lot of attorneys try and milk it. They will nickel and dime you. Until I spoke to Attorney Seaver, my anxiety was high. And even after I spoke to him, my anxiety was still high. And that's why I think I bugged Attorney Seaver for the first couple weeks, probably too many times. But he always took my call. He always, whatever it was, whether it was little or a lot. And I was having tons of anxiety. I wasn't sleeping well at all because I was still in the midst of it. It was all brand new. But at least knowing that if I reached out, there was somebody there, gave me comfort. And then once the initial shock and anxiety was over, it went down. But every once in a while, it would come back, and then I'd just make a phone call. And, that's the way we handled it. That's the way Attorney Seaver is. If my child ended up in DCF custody, A, I don't think the guilt would ever leave me for the rest of my life. B, it would probably cause irreparable harm with the relationship I have with my daughter. Right now, it's whatever happened, it's all repairable. However, if she was taken from the home, I don't even know if I'd ever be able to look her in the eyes again. And I would carry around this guilt and shame my entire life. Now, sometimes people make mistakes, and it doesn't mean we should be punished for our entire life. And I think that would have happened if my child was taken away from me. And God, don't even want to talk about what would happen with the relationship with the rest of my family if they found out that, hey, guess what? His child got taken away from him. If my daughter was placed in foster care with other parents or in a home, or I don't even know what they do to these poor kids, I think it would cause irreparable damage, because not only would she have been taken away from me, she would have been taken away from her mother. Now she's in God knows which school system. None of her friends are around. All her friends might even look at her like, oh my God, you had to go to a foster home or this or that or anything else. Irreparable damage with my ex-wife, and now my ex-wife would hate me, and then my daughter would resent me because she knew I would have been the one who caused this. And I don't think that's something any child should go through.